Hey yo, what's up YouTube? It's Voodoo, back at it again for another video. We're going to be doing another One Piece video and at that another tier list. I figure it's early in the year and this is some good easy stuff that we can go ahead and get up to kind of keep things rolling along. And honestly, I do figure it's kind of relevant to the story in that we just got out of the flashback. Finally, as of like the other day, we got out of the flashback in Elbaf where we were getting a lot of stuff on not only Loki and Harald's flashback or like their life, but also the Rocks Pirates. So I figured now is a great time to go ahead and rank them because I'll be honest, most of these characters are dead or assumed dead in the story, or I mean, they really most of them are dead or not doing much of anything. So we're not going to get too much more exposition on them. So I figure we might as well go ahead and rank them now. We might get to figure out what a couple of these guys do, more or less, like more of what they did or what they did after the Rocks Pirates, but I don't think we're going to get too much. So now should be a good time to go ahead and kind of give a ranking to them. I don't know exactly where I want to start, other than we could go ahead and work out these two awesome guys down here at the very bottom. We don't know either of their names, and I'll be honest, I don't remember seeing this character here, the Sword Man, more than once. But this guy next to him, I believe, is Claw Guy, as me and my brother call him. We've seen him in a couple different panels. I think the first time we saw him was in one of the first Rocks Pirates panels where they were silhouetted and we didn't get to see who they were. And we just saw a guy who had a claw on, kind of like we've seen Blackbeard wear before, where it has like three long claws coming out, like kind of like what he used to scratch Shanks' face. That is kind of his weapon type. We've seen him, I think, here, another panel, and I think a silhouetted panel, so maybe 3 times. But we don't know his name. We really don't know anything about him other than that he's part of the Rocks Pirates and he's got claws. Sword Guy, I'll be honest, I think we've only seen him this one time. And I don't know which panel this is from. It's probably the one where the Rocks Pirates are busting out onto the island. That would be my guess, honestly, when they're pulling up and trying to save Shaki. That might be where we see him. But these two are pretty great. So let's go ahead and get them ranked first. I'll be honest, guys. I think they're a little too awesome to be ranked down. Well, maybe one of them is awesome. I don't really remember Sword so much. Claw Guy is way too cool to actually be on this list just like this. So I think what we need to do is we need to add a row above S. And what we're actually going to do is let's go in. Let's make it like purple. And let's call it Claw Guy. And this is the tier just for Claw Guy himself. Put him up at the top. Pretty awesome. We don't know anything about him. We're going to put him at the very top. Cool design. Very interesting. I'd love to know more about him, but we don't. And then with Buddy, Mr. Sword-san is what we're going to call him. We'll give him his own tier too, since, again, these are really unrankable characters in terms of real power. We're going to call him Sword-san, and we're going to put him at the bottom. Let's make him blue. We have not seen him, I think, more than once. But Claw Guy, we've seen a couple times. He seems cool. I'd like to get something out of him, so I could really rank him. But now into the real meat and potatoes of the crew. Let's jump in. I'm going to grab a couple random ones first rather than grabbing who I think are the top or the bottom. Gansui, very clear middle pack for me. Definitely not the strongest. Not even in the second strongest. I might have a hard time believing he's even in the third strongest, but we'll put him right there in B for the time being. Next, let's grab Buckingham Stussy, the original. We don't know anything about her power. To be honest, I don't think we know that she has a devil fruit. We don't know anything about her. We don't know any feats of OG Stussy whatsoever. She's an old lady now and appears to have no power, nothing crazy. She could be very strong. There are lots of strong women in the One Piece world. But we really don't know. And without anything to say, I really can't put her higher than Gansui, who we have seen at least tussle and seem to actually do more fighting. I think she's more there for her cunning. And I think she's like a thief, kind of like Nami in that sense. I think she was known as like the technology bandit or technology thief, or it was something like that. At least when she was in the Mads era, around that time. So we'll put her in the C tier for the time being. Gloriosa, on the other hand, being one of the other lead women in the crew, is definitely above Gansui. I don't think she probably could go to the A tier, but that would be me basing her more off of how I view Boa Hancock, who is a very powerful character in the current story. She's not like top tier with all these crazy people, but Boa is not somebody that you can look down on. She can use every form of hockey at minimum to the base level. She's very strong physically. She has lots of combat experience. And leading the Kuja Pirates is really something. So I think I'd like to put Gloriosa more probably towards the bottom of the A tier would be my guess for her for the time being. We might move her to the top of B tier, but we're going to put her in A for the time being. Next, Captain John. I like Captain John a lot. I'll be honest, I think he's cooler than Gansby. I think he has more lore than Gansby, so I would believe he's probably stronger and he was more notorious. So I put him in A, but again, we don't know anything about John physically other than that he has Eustace Kid's Jiki Jiki no Mi before Kid had it. And he also was missing an arm and made an arm just like Kid. He might as well be Kid's dad. I'm not going to lie to you guys. He could be Kid's dad. I really wouldn't. I couldn't care less. But I actually like Captain John. I'm not a fan of Useless Mid. Anyways, moving on to our next character, we're going to grab Ochoku, who is also known as Wang Ji. Really lame. If you guys want my honest opinion, I don't like him. He's probably physically fairly strong, at least in the C tier, would be my guess. At minimum. Thing is, I don't think he's as strong as a lot of the other crew. I know that he ends up killing Don Marlin, but I think that's by backstabbing him. But realistically, I think he's probably weaker than a lot of these other pirates. So what I'm thinking now is I might move... No, we'll keep Stussy at C, and we're going to put him at the top of C, but still below Gansby in the B division. And since we brought him up, we'll grab Don Marlin. I feel like I should put Don Marlin lower than him since Ochoku did kill him. But at the same time, it's probably him backstabbing him based on what we know about the character of Ochoku and how he acts. Almost makes me want to put him in the D tier because he's like one of the only ones that got killed in the timeline of the Rocks Pirates being like a thing. But I don't think he was actually weaker per se. I think it really probably was just some nonsense. So I'm gonna put him in the C tier as well. Actually, we'll put him in the D tier. And what we're gonna do specifically, if he stays the only person in this D tier, we're gonna call this the Dawn tier for Mr. Marlin himself. Next, Barbell. Kind of unrankable, I'm not going to lie to you. We don't know much of anything about Barbell. Because he's a fishman, we know he's stronger than your average human. We don't know many weak fishmen in the story. Most big crews all seem to have a fishman on there. The Straw Hats got Jinbei. The Roger Pirates have... I don't remember what his name is right off the dome. But a bunch of the big crews seem to have a fishman on it. If I'm going to put him somewhere randomly, it's going to be probably at the top of the B tier. I bet he's stronger than Gansby, but we really have no way to know. I'm just guessing, because Gansby was not very impressive, and I didn't mention, but his fruit is... It's like the explode fruit. It's whichever one that Mr. 5 had back on Alabasta, where he flicks boogers and he can make anything that he touches or a part of him explode. That's essentially what Gansby's fruit is. I think it's not super impressive. It's not awful, but it's not a really impressive fruit. So I would think Barbell is probably going to be naturally just stronger than him, and just based on what I believe. Next, we're going to jump down Stroizen. I hate Stroizen, guys. Not a fan of the character at all. He's disgusting. He took Child Big Mom and turned her into more of a monster than she probably could have became already. Real creeper, honestly. And then there are theories that he could be Sparrow's father because he looks kind of like Sparrow, which might also make him the father of the oldest daughter. I don't remember what her name is right off the dome. But I don't like that. So I hate Stroizen. So for me, he would really go on the bottom. So just for that sake, I'm going to move Don Marlin up. I bet Don Marlin is stronger than both Stussy and Stroizen. Stroizen deserves to be down here by himself. I hate him. Awful character. Gil Bastar. We don't know a lot about Gil other than that from what we saw him do before One Piece, in the canon, his own material that he's in before One Piece, Wanted. We know that he has the Horo no Mi that Perona had. I think he's fairly strong. He's supposed to be a gunman and a very fast one at that. If I had to place him, I would think he's minimum in the B tier. So that's where I'm going to put him. I think he's cooler than Gansby, and because we know more about him in theory probably than Barbell, I'm going to place him a little above Barbell. Yeah, that seems pretty fair to me. Next, we're jumping into more of the actual big guys here. These are going to be the top of the A and the S tier people. Silver Axe Kyo. So this was Shiki's rival. It's Golden Lion Shiki, and it's Silver Axe Kyo. They should be around the same league. Thing is, we don't have any feats from Kyo to actually know that, other than that we know that he is just somebody who'd clash with Shiki. That being said, I don't feel as confident putting him on the same tier that I would put Shiki on, which would probably be towards... I was thinking about putting him on S tier. Well, Easy enough. Rocks, clear S tier. Davy D. Zebek, the GOAT. Unbelievably powerful character. Clearly S tier. Whitebeard's right there with him. Very powerful. Not as strong, but extremely powerful, especially when he reaches his prime. But we're ranking them based on how we imagine they were at the time of God Valley. I would actually... That being said, it kind of makes me want to move down Captain John to the top of B tier. I'll leave Gloriosa probably here in the A tier. I think that's still pretty fair. But realistically, I think we're going to have to put a bunch of these guys in the A tier. Kaido's really powerful. We know that. But I don't see him being near as powerful as Rox or Whitebeard. Actually, we know for a fact he is much weaker than them at this point in the story. So I'd say the top of A tier is pretty fair, because I don't know how Gloriosa would be able to take down Kaido, even when he's younger. Lin is debatable. I could put her right behind Whitebeard in my head, because she's definitely closer to the same level as Whitebeard, but she is also weaker than he is. So I really want to put her on the A tier, but she's probably going to be our top A tier character, because when Big Mom was in her prime, she seemed to be pretty powerful. I would then put, of course, Shiki and Kyo are going to be in the same place. I think they're just going to sit in the A tier too. Thing is, Shiki was mentioned alongside people like Whitebeard and Garp, Garp and Roger as being extremely powerful. So I kind of feel like he deserves a slot here on the S tier just because of that alone. We just didn't get to see him actually do a lot. I just feel bad putting him on the same tier as characters like Whitebeard and Rox, who we have seen display some phenomenal feats of power, and we've been told that Shiki clashes with these people, but we don't really see much from him. We know that Garp and Sengoku beat him up at Marineford and put him in Impel Down, but being beat by Garp and Sengoku is not an anti-feat at all. It's something that it took both of them being there potentially to do that. So I don't feel too bad about him being on S. He probably could be A tier, but I think he's probably around the same division as Whitebeard, while I think Linlin's still a little below, and Kaido's still a newbie, so he's definitely below them. For that point, I'll put Kyo at the top of A tier. Actually, I'll put him right after Big Mom, solely because we don't know much about what he can do, but we know he used to clash along with Shiki pretty often, and that he was like a bounty hunter, I think he was kind of depicted to be like a bounty hunter who was hunting Shiki. I do think Linlin is probably more powerful, though. If not, they're around the same level. And I think Shiki's honestly right around them, too. But I think his notoriety and what we know him to do puts him in a slightly higher place for me, even in the current where they would be in the Rocks Pirates. So this is a pretty fair breakdown. I think Shiki's debatably movable down to A. I think any of these people in A and Shiki all are probably solid A tiers. B tier is pretty solid. I kind of want to move Gansui down, but it's really hard to say. I think he's definitely probably weaker than these guys, but he's probably certainly stronger than all three of them. And Stroyzen sucks. He's not taking anybody. Even Stussie's mollywopping him, even if she doesn't fight, because he's not a fighter either. He's getting absolutely mollywopped. So, with that being said, I'd say that's a pretty safe tier list ranking for us. I think I feel pretty good about that, all things considered. We could put Rox in a tier of his own for being an absolute goat of a character. I mean, speaking on it, maybe I'll do a video on Rox at some point. But Rox is such a great guy from what we understand. Really crazy, really unhinged, but honestly really cool too. Great dad, wanted to protect his kid. Literally went and fought the world government during one of their biggest events where they'd have some of their biggest guys there just to save his own wife and kid. Absolute Chad. Just like Odin. Truly great characters we met in the flashback. Harald I liked a lot too, but I didn't like Harald as much as Rox. Rox really shined a lot in the flashback. But with that being said, guys, I'd say we're going to wrap it up there, because I feel pretty good. I don't think I'm going to move anybody else right now. And Claw Guy clearly is number one. I hope you guys all agree with me. I'd love to know more about Claw Guy and figure out what happened to him. I couldn't care too much about Sword Son. Just another swordsman in the One Piece world. We know that either Mihawk is number one, and so everybody is beneath him. And even people of the past, there were a lot of swordsmen in the past, I guess. Rox, Roger, and I don't know if I'd say Mihawk is on their level, but with the current level, or the current story, Mihawk's probably top in the verse, pretty comfortably still. I imagine the Sword Son was nowhere near the type of power that Mihawk or any of our strong sword characters are capable of. So I'm not too hyped to learn about him. But I like Claw Guy. We've seen him for a while. He's been cool. I was curious about him in Silhouette, so I'd like to see more about him. But odds are we won't ever. But if you guys made it this far, go ahead and leave a like on the video. Comment if you guys want to see another tier list, more One Piece stuff, or if you guys have any other ideas or suggestions, things you guys just want to see. Drop it down in the comments below, and I'll see about giving it a read. And if it's something I'm even vaguely interested in, I don't have a problem putting up a video on it. But yeah, with that being said, I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. I hope everybody's had a great day, and I'll see you guys back around for the next video. All right, later.